Hello everyone. Let's do the chapter Discovering Tut. The saga continues. It's written by A.R. Williams. This chapter is taken from the book Hornbill of class 11. So let's go through the gist, the main points and highlights of the chapter. King Tut's death has been a mystery. King Tut became an emperor when he was only a teenager, and surprisingly, he died also as a teenager. But the reasons of his death are unknown till date. Because of this, his body is examined time and again. In 1922, the British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the tomb of King Tut. Now, Howard Carter wanted to know more about King Tut and his sudden demise. Therefore, he took out his coffin and kept it open under the blazing heat of the sun. His intention was to melt the resins which glued the body with the coffin. And when he couldn't do so, he tried to chisel out body parts and caused grave damage to the body. Answer these questions. Question 1. Why is King Tut's death a mystery? The answer is King Tut's death is a mystery as he became an emperor when he was a teenager. He died also as a teenager and the reason of his death is unknown till date. Question 2. What is the possible reason of his death? The answer is the possible reason of his death is unknown. Third question. Why is King Tut's body examined repeatedly? The answer is King Tut's body is examined repeatedly as the reason behind his death is unknown. Question 4. What was Howard Carter's intention? The answer is Howard Carter's intention was to find out the reason behind King Tut's sudden demise. Question 5. What did Carter do with King Tut's coffin? Why? The answer is Carter kept King Tut's coffin open under the blazing heat of the sun. He wanted to melt the resins which glued the body to the coffin. Question 6. What did Carter do with King Tut's mummy and why? The answer is when Carter was unable to melt the resins, he chiseled out the body parts. He wanted to remove the body from the coffin. Question 7. How did Carter justify what he did? The answer is Carter justified by telling that he wanted to protect the body and the coffin from the robbers as the body was laden with gold. Let's see the next point. Things King Tut was buried with. King Tut was buried in a three-nested coffin. It was a three-layered coffin. He was buried along with gold artifacts, necklace, bracelet, board game, razor, linen undergarments, and cases of food and wine. And why it was done so? Because Egyptians believed in life after death, that's known as resurrection. They believed that the king would need everything even after his death. Next point, King Tut's past. So this is important to remember. After Amenhotep III, Amenhotep IV came. This Amenhotep IV stopped worship of Amun god. He started the worship of Aten god. He also changed his name to Akhenaten in place of Amenhotep. He also changed the capital from Thebes to Amarna. He also closed the temples of Amun god and smashed the idols of Amun god. Now answer these questions. Question 1. How's the coffin of King Tut? The answer is the coffin of King Tut is 3-layered or 3-nested. Next question. What was King Tut buried with? So you have to remember those articles. So those were the artifacts, then bracelet, then amulets, then cases of food and wine, then razor, linen undergarments, and board game as well. Question 3. Why were the things King Tut loved, those things were kept in his coffin? The answer is the Egyptians believed in the process of life after death. They thought that the king would require those things even after death. So all the things that King Tut loved were kept in his coffin. Next question. Who succeeded Amenhotep III? And what name did he adopt? So the answer is after Amenhotep III, Amenhotep IV came, but he changed his name to Akhenaten. Next question. Whose worship was initiated by the new pharaoh? So the answer is the worship of Aten god in place of Amun god. Next question. What was the change in the capital? So the answer is the capital was changed from Thebes to Amarna. Question 7. Which temples were closed by the new pharaoh? So the answer is the temples of Amun god were closed by the new pharaoh. Let's understand about the characters given in the chapter. King Tut. He was the last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. His preserved body was the first to be scanned. Howard Carter. He was the British archaeologist who, in 1922, discovered King Tut's tomb. His search caused great damage to the king's preserved body, as we know that he kept the coffin open under the blazing heat of the sun, and not only that, he chiseled out the body parts. Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. He scanned King Tut's mummy for an accurate forensic reconstruction. Amenhotep III. He was King Tut's father or grandfather, was a powerful ruler who ruled for almost 4 decades. Amenhotep IV. He promoted the worship of Aten and changed his name to Akhenaten. He also outraged the country by attacking Amun, a major god, by smashing his images and closing his temples. Now match the following. So the answer is King Tut. He was the last heir of a powerful family that ruled Egypt. Howard Carter. He was a British archaeologist who discovered King Tut's tomb. Zahi Hawass. He was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Amenhotep III. He was King Tut's father or grandfather. Amenhotep IV. He changed his name to Akhenaten. Now let's revise the highlights and also understand about few more points. Number one, now we know that Tutankhamun or King Tut, he died as a teenager and he was buried laden with gold. He was the last king of a powerful family that ruled Egypt for centuries. Now the next is important to remember that on 5th January 2005, King Tut's mummy was taken out for CT scan, of course to ascertain the reason of his death. Many tourists from all over the world came to that place to visit the tomb to pay their respects. Some of them were reading from the books, some of them were silently praying to the god, and some of them were even praying to protect them from King Tut's anger or curse as he was being disturbed as they thought so. Zahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, said that the mummy was in a very bad condition because of what Carter did to it. Howard Carter, the British archaeologist who had discovered King Tut's tomb in 1922 and investigated its contents. The next 2 points we have done that Howard Carter took out the coffin and he kept it open under the blazing heat of the sun to melt the resins which glued the body to the coffin. Then he was unable to do so. After that, he chiseled out the body parts, and as mentioned in the last point, his men thus removed the mummy's head and cut off nearly every major joint before reassembling it. You can practice this fill in the blanks according to what you have read earlier. Question 1. King Tut's mummy was brought out for CT scan on. So the date is January 5 and in the year 2005. Second, tourists visited the place at that time to pay their respects. And as given in point 3, some praised the murals, some read from the guidebook about King Tut, and some prayed fearing King Tut's curse upon getting disturbed. Next one, it's Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, said that the mummy was in a bad condition because of what Howard Carter did. Next one, Howard Carter was a British archaeologist who discovered King Tut's tomb in the year 1922. The difficulty Carter faced in removing the body from the coffin because of the resins, which resulted in cementing the body to the coffin. And the seventh one, Howard Carter first tried to melt the resins by keeping the coffin open under the blazing heat of the sun, and then chiseled out the major joints, causing severe damage to the mummy. In 1968, an anatomy professor x-rayed the mummy and revealed a startling fact. He claimed that the breastbone and the front ribs of the mummy were missing. Now this one we have done. Let's revise. Amenhotep III, King Tut's father or grandfather, was a powerful king. He was succeeded by Amenhotep IV, who went a bit wacky, and he stopped the worship of Amun god and promoted the worship of Aten god. He also changed his name to Akhenaten. He also made some other changes as we have done already. King Tut's mummy was one of the first mummies to be scanned. The CT scan showed a grey head, neck vertebrae, a hand, several images of the rib cage, and a section of the skull. Zai Hawass was relieved to find out that nothing had gone seriously wrong with the mummy. After their observations, when they left, the wind had stopped and there was complete silence. Just above the entrance to King Tut's tomb stood Orion, the constellation, watching over the boy king. Let's do in the form of fill in the blanks. You can practice. In the year 1968, an anatomy professor revealed a startling fact, and that was that King Tut's ribs and breastbones were missing. Next one, Amenhotep III was succeeded by Amenhotep IV, who promoted the worship of Aten god. He also changed his name to Akhenaten. Third one, he also changed the capital from Thebes to Amarna and also closed temples of Amun god. Question 4. Zai Hawass was relieved that nothing had gone seriously wrong with King Tut's mummy. And the last one, name of the constellation, that is Orion. It is situated just above the entrance of King Tut's tomb and seems to be watching over the boy king. In this video, we have done gist and highlights of the chapter. In the next one, we will be doing question answers and also the remaining points if they are left. Thank you.